Okay, let's just dive right into the situation. You already know the names, Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers, and how they slipped out of their cells back in June of 1962. But today, we're bypassing all those wild myths and rumors. We're doing a purely forensic dive into the actual physical clues left behind in the wake of America's most famous prison break. Right, so, did they actually survive? Honestly, it's the ultimate question, isn't it? It's the one thing that turns this daring heist into a decades-old cold case. And to answer it accurately, we've gotta look strictly at the exact breadcrumbs they left behind, both out there in the water and inside those cells. So, we're filtering out the noise today. No wild theories, no late-night rumors, just the cold, hard physical evidence. By putting on our investigator hats, so to speak, we can start to piece together the real narrative of what happened after the lights finally went out on that cell block. Every single item left behind is a totally critical piece of this massive puzzle. Section 1. The Inescapable Fortress. You see, the public was completely sold this myth of a flawless, impenetrable monolith, but the reality, well, years of harsh, salty ocean air had actually rotted the fortress from the inside out. The concrete was literally softening, and the iron was busting away. This decay was the very first crack in the fortress's armor, right? It was a critical vulnerability that our escapees meticulously exploited using nothing but sharpened spoons and, honestly, just sheer willpower. But okay, let's say you actually breached that rotting concrete. You still had to face nature's ultimate moat. The San Francisco Bay is notoriously brutal. We're talking water temperatures regularly plunging down into the low 50s. Now, to put that into perspective, at those temperatures, hypothermia sets in incredibly fast. Add each totally violent currents are constantly pulling out toward the open Pacific, and swimming, yeah, it was practically impossible. That freezing bay wasn't just a hello, it was a lethal barrier. Section 2. Anatomy of the breakout. Let's quickly trace ourselves. Step 1. Tunnel through that decaying concrete to widen the ventilation grills in their cells. Step 2. Scale the dark, dusty plumbing shafts all the way up to the roof level. Step 3. Somehow slip right past the armed guards patrolling the roof line. And finally, step 4. Shimmy down the exterior piping to the rocky shore below. I mean, it was an absolute logistical masterpiece just to get to the water side. Section 3. Deciphering the leftover clues. Okay, this is where the tone shifts dramatically from a clever heist to a high-stakes survival thriller. The next morning, the guards sound the alarm, and the men are just gone. But in their place, investigators recover these fascinating artifacts of a master plan. We've got the famous papier-mâché heads, fragments of a raincoat raft, a solitary paddle, and discarded personal effects just floating out there in the bay. Let's break these down one by one because they are absolutely wild. First up, the dummy heads. These were without a doubt an absolute masterstroke of deception. They crafted them from soap, toilet paper, concrete dust, and get this, real human hair swept up from the prison barbershop. They placed these wave-like decoys meticulously under the blankets, so when the guards walked by during those nighttime bed checks, they just saw what looked like peacefully sleeping prisoners. This ingenious trick bought the guys the crucial hours they desperately needed to navigate the shafts, scale the roof, and just vanish into the night before the morning had come. And then we have the incredible makeshift raft. Now, this wasn't just some random piece of driftwood they found. No, it was painstakingly stitched and glued together from over 50 prison-issued raincoats. They actually used the steam pipes right there in the cell block to vulcanize rubber and seal the seams perfectly. This single piece of evidence really highlights the insane lengths they went to just to survive that freezing bay. They knew they couldn't swim it. They absolutely had to float over it. But then, we hit a massive complication. They found their paddle, but where they found it changes everything. When investigators pulled a makeshift wooden paddle out of the water, it created this really complex breadcrumb trail. You see, the location of that paddle heavily suggests they didn't make a controlled trip over the Angel Islands like they planned. Instead, it kinda points to them being swept helplessly out to the Golden Gate Bridge by that ferocious current, which honestly, in those waters, would almost certainly be adjacent. Section 4. The Unsolved Mystery. So decades later, we're left with the ultimate investigator's dilemma, right? We have two fiercely competing narratives. On one hand, you got this super compelling evidence of survival, brilliant planning, the meticulously crafted dummy heads, the vulcanized raft, and the huge fact that no bodies were ever recovered. But competing directly against all that, you have the grim, undeniable reality of the bay. We know the water was freezing, those currents were deadly, and the discovery of floating personal effects really suggests the raft may have violently broken apart before they ever even reached the mainland. So, we've laid out the facts for you. After deciphering the pure ingenuity of the dummy heads, the total desperation of the raincoat raft, the shifting tides marked by one solitary paddle, and the freezing, unforgiving waters of the bay, it really is up to you to weigh the evidence. Did those freezing waters finally claim them, or did they actually pull off the impossible and live out their days completely in hiding? So what did the crew show you?